start off with just explaining a little bit about who we are, how we came about, and why we decided to form this framework. So first of all, we had to define what sustainability was and why it was important to us and to others. So our definition of sustainability you can see on your screen. It's the production of beef in a manner that's socially, environmentally and economically responsible. And we do this by caring for natural resources, people in the community, and ensuring the health and welfare of animals while driving improvement. The framework had a number of iterations before it found a home with RMAC, the Red Meat Advisory Council. And the concept was explored as early as 2014 by industry. We set up an initial steering group in 2016, and then we had a full year of consultation with industry and external stakeholders. So the first steering group arrived at that definition that we've already been through, and a vision, which you can see on your screen in front of you. We're often asked why we're doing this, and the answer lies in that vision, behind the framework. It's to ensure a thriving Australian beef industry that strives to continuously improve the well-being of people, animals, and the environment. It's really all about trust and ensuring that we can continue to provide a quality product that's celebrated for its quality and its ethical production. So what are the industry benefits to having a framework like this? Why do we do this? It's to meet consumer and community expectations, which are constantly changing. It's to examine and at times respond to requests to industry to explain our views and our stance on environment and animal welfare in particular. You'll find that these topics are now entering into trade negotiations. It's being able to respond when customers are asking us for evidence, requests that can become embedded in supply. This is just another form of market access and increasingly driving the agenda. It's for companies looking to access capital, and for those companies, it's becoming unusual not to be asked to demonstrate beyond their sustainability, beyond their economic credentials. Companies, our customers, or their influencers, they want to know the long-term approach to industry sustainability. It's to build trust with all of our stakeholders and ultimately with our consumers. They have questions, we can give them answers. And ideally, it's to minimise regulation by industry taking a proactive approach. How is the framework used by industry? We use it to guide and track performance on farm and right through the value chain to ensure that Australia continues to be recognised as a global leader in sustainable beef production. The framework focuses on aligning environmental, welfare, social and economic practices with best evidence and community expectations, while at the same time growing profitability. And this will help ensure access to markets and capital for Australian beef businesses. The framework is designed to provide customers, consumers, industry and any other interested stakeholder with a clear snapshot of our performance across those areas of the environment, welfare, social and economic. And also increasingly we're finding that the framework is being used by companies to inform their own sustainability activities outside of our process. Several beef companies now report using the framework as a guide, and retailers, including the majors in Australia, now refer to our framework in their corporate reporting. In summary, our framework has 4 themes: animal welfare, economic resilience, environmental stewardship, and people in the community. Under each theme, you can see 10 topics. And those 10 topics have 23 priorities. 6 of those have been pulled out for focus as a result of our materiality reviews, which is what people telling us what's important to them. So the steering group is focusing on those 6 areas, and these are highlighted on your screen. If you want to download our last annual report, you can see that for each of these priority areas, there are indicators, and these are what we're reporting against to provide updates on our performance right across the industry. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about industry involvement in this process. So this is the steering group that I chair. We have representatives from across the supply chain and across Australia. to ensure that we adequately consider the sector and geographic issues, what we call our regional dialogues or our regional dialects. Of course, the SSG don't do this in isolation, and we consult heavily with industry, but I'll just very quickly introduce you to the members of that steering group. So Carl Duncan works for Tees Australia, and Carl heads up their sustainability team, but he's also an expert in renewable energy. Kim McDougall works for Andrew Forrest's group over in the West, particularly in his northern pastoral operations. Melanie Leather is a beef producer from Banana in Queensland. Jenny O'Sullivan is a beef producer from Gippsland in Victoria. Trevor Moore works for the Northern Cooperative Meat Company, again, particularly in their sustainability programs. Mark Davey is both a beef producer and involved in food service. And Michael also comes from the West and works quite a lot in the live expert industry, but is also a lawyer. So that's the group that I currently chair. So you can see you are again right across the supply chain, but also right across Australia. We also, as well as the steering group and industry consultation, we consult with our other stakeholders. And on the screen, you can see the number of people we consult with. Twice a year, we hold a consultative committee so that we have that two-way conversation about what people are seeing in their own businesses. The point of this slide is to show that really the beef industry is in the driving seat. We are not an external body consulting to, dictating to industry, and we are not a certification scheme. While the framework may evolve over time, none of this will happen without industry telling us that that's the direction they want us to go in. The steering group is appointed by RMAC to lead the framework. We report to RMAC, and RMAC drive the process. The stakeholders that you see in front of you, we engage and talk to them, as I said, twice a year. We try and build positive relationships with them from right across the whole value chain. And really, this is one of our keys to success. We've just recently, late last year, had a report where we evaluated the success of the framework, and our stakeholder engagement came across as a high point for the framework's work. In those consultative committee, we bring beef retailers, special interest groups, researchers, government, industry, finance together to talk about sustainability. We share what we've been doing and the challenges we face, and our stakeholders share their concerns, and they offer to help tackle some of these challenges. We've acknowledged last year that through our extensive external stakeholder engagement, we may have left industry behind. So we are beginning the process this year, in fact this month, with an industry consultation process as well. We also need to work on connecting industry with what our stakeholders are thinking and what they're seeing happening with consumers and influencers. The framework is a customer-facing document, but we need to make it a priority to ensure that we represent industry appropriately. So we need to work collectively with our service providers, with Meat and Livestock Australia, with AMPC, and ALIC to address these, LiveCorp, to address these priorities and ensure a sustainable industry right across the value chain. The framework is a process. It's not a body that delivers services. We support and strongly encourage representative bodies and internal service companies to develop programs that drive best practice. The key activity is our publishing of the annual updates. And I'll cover some of the key outcomes of our 2020 update. And this update is freely available for download from our website. So the key coverage in the annual update includes the progress of the framework since the previous update, industry activity across the 6 key priorities, a scorecard showing industry performance across all 23 priorities and the trends as we collect data year on year, and case studies of sustainable practice being undertaken across the value chain. So that's beef producers doing good things which demonstrate our performance. As well as celebrating the key achievements within the framework, we also clearly acknowledge that we've had some challenges, particularly in the last 2 years. Floods, fire, drought, pandemics, all of those things have impacted the industry and on people's livelihoods. And they've further presented a challenge for our framework in progressing some of our work. Highlights that we can be proud of: on-farm biosecurity plans increasing from 25 to 90%. As an industry, we continue to make inroads to being carbon neutral by 2030 with a 56.7% reduction since the baseline year of 2005. Pain relief use has been increasing since becoming commercially available, moved from 15 to 21% in the last year. And in my own sector of feedlots, we've got nearly 60% of feedlots voluntarily putting in antimicrobial stewardship plans. From a framework perspective, in that last update, we had data for 84% of our indicators. So where to from here? We align very strongly with the red meat industry strategic plan to 2030. There are 80,000 red meat and livestock businesses, and this plan is an outline for the coming decade. The plan outlines a shared vision of doubling the value of Australian red meat sales by 2030 as the trusted source of the highest quality protein. The industry has a core focus on diversification and economic resilience underpinned by the sustainability frameworks, and the sheep industry are currently doing theirs. Our framework supports the strategy outlined in Red Meat 2030. Our environment is one of 6 priorities identified in Red Meat 2030, aiming to demonstrate leadership in environmental sustainability and to deliver on community expectations in the areas of land, water, biodiversity, climate change and biosecurity. Red Meat 2030 looks to advance our sustainability frameworks and support their adoption, ensuring the whole supply chain works within agreed and coordinated sustainability frameworks. It uses our beef framework as an exemplar because we were the first red meat framework to begin. Additionally, the red meat industry is continuing to develop transparent standard systems, verified adoption of best practice across the supply chain. And these will consider natural capital like land, soils, water, climate and biodiversity, and enhance the productivity, biosecurity and sustainability of our land and businesses into the future. So I'll finish on that note, but I'm more than happy to take any questions as we go along. And in particular, if you have any, you can visit our website if you want to download our annual updates, which will give you more information. But again, I thank you for the opportunity to present on our framework today. Thanks, Kimberly.